can use on shape layers. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, let's kick this video off with a really rather simple one, but it's not as straightforward as it may seem, and that is how to draw a triangle. So if you go up to the shape tools, you'll notice there's a tool for rectangle tool and an ellipse tool, a polygon tool, even a star tool, but there's no tool for a triangle. You could use the pen tool, of course, to draw out your triangle, but then you end up with a wonky triangle. The way to create a triangle is actually with the polygon tool or the star tool. So in this case, I'm just gonna use the polygon tool, and I'm gonna draw out my polygon right here. And right now I have a polygon with 6 points. And before I release my mouse click, I'm going to do Alt down arrow until it reduces down to 3 points. Now I have a triangle. I want to make a note that if you use the Alt arrow key method, you are setting the default points for that tool, the polygon tool, to 3 points. So anytime you use that tool to draw another shape, you're going to be drawing another triangle. If you want to get back to drawing a polygon, you can do the same thing, but in the opposite direction. So Alt and the up arrow key. So I'll just draw my triangle, and before I release my mouse click, I'll do Alt up until I have the number of points I want. You can also go into the contents, shape path, and change the number of points in there if you don't want to mess around with the defaults. All right, so shape morphing in After Effects is actually pretty straightforward. You just need a keyframe for your beginning shape and a keyframe for your end shape. Now, I want to note that in order to morph between two shapes, you have to be using Bezier paths. And if you don't know the difference between a Bezier path and a parametric path, go check out my video on Intro to Shape Layers, link in the description, where I go over those two differences. Now I've created a square here, and we're gonna morph this square into a circle. Now, I know, this isn't the most exciting morph, but it's a great morph to show you the fundamentals of how this process works, so that you know how to avoid common pitfalls when morphing between two shapes, because I guarantee the first time you do it, you're not gonna get a result that you're pleased with. So by using this simple example, I can illustrate to you some of the common issues that happen when morphing, and you can avoid those, and you can then move on to more complex shapes. So let's jump in. So the first thing is I'm gonna go to the path property here on the square, and I'm gonna create a keyframe to mark that shape. Then I will go a couple of frames down, and this is where we're gonna be pasting our second keyframe for the circle. But first, we need to get that circle information. So to create that, I'm gonna use the ellipse tool, and I'm make sure that the Bezier path is selected, or this little thing is checked, so that I'm making a Bezier circle and not a parametric circle, which again, to emphasize, you cannot morph between a Bezier path and a parametric path. Okay, so now that we've got that all set up, I'm just gonna select my square here, just so I can get this little anchor point marker, so I know exactly where the center of my shape is. And then from there, I'll hold Control Shift and drag out till I fill my square. And now I have my circle path information that I can then go in and copy by hitting Control C, and then I will select the path of my rectangle and hit Control V, and that will paste it, and you can see my square turned into a circle. However, now this is where you probably fall into the same pitfall, but when we morph this, let me just turn off that ellipse. When we morph between these two, this is not the kind of morph that we wanted, and that is because the shape is flipping, because one keyframe, the path shape is going in one direction, and in the second keyframe, the path is being drawn in the second direction. So we need to flip one of these paths. We're gonna flip the circle. So I will select that keyframe and double click on one of the points, which will select all of my keyframes. And then I'm gonna turn back on the ellipse just to use as a guide again. And then we will select all those, and we holding Control, we'll just transform this and flip it like that. Now, if I turn off that ellipse, we can see that this shape transform is much more pleasing, but there's still something weird with it because it's it feels like it's rotating. And that is because if we look at the points, these points are all having to move to the corresponding position on the circle. To fix this, we just need to rotate the circle. And I know that the top point here is the first vertex, and if I go to the square, the first vertex is over here on the right corner. So I want those first vertex on both shapes to be in relatively the same position. So I'm going to select my shape path and rotate it to the right so that these points are just moving in like that. So there you go, that's how you morph a shape. Next, I want to talk to you about merge paths, which can be found in this little menu right here. Before I add the merge paths to my shape layer though, I need to combine my shapes into one group. So I'll select both of them and hit Control G. And now with group one selected, I will add my merge paths. Merge paths is like the Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. Didn't know my camera wasn't on. Let me focus this up. How's everybody doing? Thanks for joining today. Sorry we're doing a live stream a little later in the week this week. I've had a hectic week with a lot of projects. So I wasn't able to do a video this week and wasn't able to live stream yesterday. For those who are joining for the first time, we usually live stream every, well, not every Wednesday or Thursday, but every week on Wednesday or Thursday. This week, I just didn't have time. I had to get too much done, but we got everything done. All right, that looks good. We're in focus. Whew. Okay. I also added the chat right here. There we go. So when we're in this view, you'll be able to see the chat. In other views, when we're in After Effects, we're in Illustrator, we don't have space for that. How's everybody's week? Are you guys ready for the weekend? Sorry for the rough start. I realized right before I was going to transition away from that opening window that my mic had run out of batteries, so I had to figure something out. This is why you should prepare before you start a live stream. Where's everybody joining from? Let's start with that in the chat. And how's everybody's week been? Who do we got joining us today? If this is your first time joining, say hello in the chat. AC, I always see you in the chat. Good to see you. Good to see you. We're getting live on Friday, so we may have a little bit lower of a viewer count this time around because people are out enjoying their weekends. But I wanted to get on at least for a little bit today just to stay consistent with our weekly live streams, and there's always more to talk about when it comes to character animation. So say hello in the chat. Say what up. Let us know where you're joining from. I'll make sure everything's set up. Hold on to your butts. Good to see you. One of our regulars. Thanks for joining. Oh man, this week has been crazy. So today's stream is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter stream. Just because I'm kind of burnt out from everything I had to do this week. Busy, busy, busy. By the way, if you're on TikTok, I just started an account on TikTok. You should go follow me. I don't really know how to use TikTok, but I'm learning. So If you're on TikTok, go follow me there. Be posting tips, tricks, stuff, you know, whatever works. Today we're going to be just working on a little animation. If you joined us on my last live stream, I kind of showed you it's the animation of the guy floating with his legs crossed. I want to work on that animation a little bit today. There's no real agenda in terms of a tutorial. I don't really have a tutorial structured out. I'm just going to kind of work on it and talk about what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Kind of like a shadow, you know, job shadow or whatever, even though it's not a job, but I want to give you guys a peek into just the real-time like decision making that happens when you're working on these things, figuring things out and stuff like that. So I'll pull that up here in just a second. If you're just joining us, let us know in the chat where you're from, where you're joining from, and what your plans for the weekend are. How about that? Obviously, joining in on the stream is one of your plans. Whew. Again, apologies for no video out this week because it was just a crazy week. Hopefully I'll have some time next week for a video and a live stream. I'll definitely probably have time for a live stream next week, but a video might be a little bit of a stretch. I got another big project next week coming up. It's going to take all my time, and then once that's done, I think I'm going to have more time, more free time after that, so I can work on more videos. And we'll have more tutorials up on the YouTube channel. AC, you're at an Airbnb. Are you on vacation? If so, I am jealous. I am very jealous. I want to pull something up here. So bear with me 1 second. So, many of you, if you've joined the live stream or if you watched the last couple of my YouTube videos, you know that I'm currently working on a character animation course that goes much more in depth on the character rigging and animation process that I use to create my character animations. And we've been pre-selling that course. I believe there's a link in the description if you want to go check that out. We have a launch date. I don't want to say it right now because it might still be subject to change, but if you are somebody who has pre-ordered that, just know that in the next couple of days you're going to receive an email with more information on the launch date for that course. So but while I have you guys here, I kind of want to run the course agenda by you guys and see if there's any feedback on kind of the structure of the course. So hopefully this transition works. Gotta bring up the page. Okay, so here's my little draft of the course outline. It's going to be divided into 3 chapters. And before I open up these different chapters, there's a bunch of lessons in each chapter. But before I go on to that Oh, we just got a super chat, I think, from Hold Your Butts. And I don't have the, just a second, let me see. Let me see here. Just $5 with no message. I appreciate that. Hold on to your butts. I really do. That'll buy me a nice energy drink tomorrow. A little Monster Zero. Really appreciate that. Very unnecessary, but I appreciate it. So let's bounce back over to this. So anyway, before I get into the different the lessons within each chapter, I just wanted to do like this little overview. This is like a little preview of kind of the structure of the character course. Now, if you didn't see this, let me just give you a quick rundown. A couple weeks ago, I announced this course, and I had a link to a survey that had questions about your struggles with character rigging and animation, and kind of what you struggle to find tutorials on, and what your struggles are when you are in the process of rigging characters, so that I can kind of tailor the course curriculum to helping you address those issues and solving them, while also teaching you some of my techniques of just how I approach character animation. So this course curriculum that you're looking at over here, this is what I've kind of come up with in terms of the curriculum, the way I want to teach character rigging and animation, that I think will address a lot of those concerns, a lot of those struggles that people have. So one of the biggest struggles that people talk about is building a flexible rig that they can use for many different animations. A lot of people talk about how they build a character rig, and then they find out later that it can't really do what they want it to do, or they just run into issues as they try to animate it. So a big thing is just learning how to build flexible rigs that can do a lot of different things. The other thing is, a lot of people commented about animating their rigs, right? You can have an awesome rig, but if you don't know how to animate it, if you're not great at animating it, so much for having a good rig. So the first thing is, I'm going to teach about how to build flexible rigs that are reusable and that are flexible, that can do 95% of the things that you need them to do. Second thing is, I'm going to teach you my approach to pulling together an animation. How do you actually, I'm just going to share my process for creating an animation with that character rig. And then the last thing is, a lot of people want to break out of the kind of 2D flat. One of the words that was used over and over and over again by people is perspective and 2.5D. So people want to know how to do that, because a lot of times you see animations in After Effects, they all follow the same basic format because we're all using the same tool, and it's when you look up a tutorial on Duik on YouTube, no one's really talking about how do you go beyond just the normal rig. They're all just, how do you rig up a character? So I want to talk about that, and I want to share with you my process for coming up with some more dynamic animations than just the 3/4 perspective kind of flat animations that you typically have with character animations. So I've broken up the course into 3 different categories. Chapter 1 is just going to be going over the basics of how to rig up your character, and we're going to just use a simple character rig that is not too complex, doesn't have a lot of character detail, because I want to help people get familiar with the tools and to know what tools are at your disposal and how to use them to create and rig up your character. Without knowing that, you can't then do complex characters with a lot of artwork detail. Because if any of you have ever tried to rig a character that you found from Envato or Shutterstock or one of those websites, as soon as you try to rig that thing up, you start running into issues with how do you make that artwork work in a character rigging situation. And I've developed a couple of different tricks and methods to do that. So once we get familiar with the tools and create some fun little animations with very simple character animations, then in the next chapter, chapter 2, we're going to go into, okay, now how do we apply what we learned in chapter 1 to an actual character rig that either A, you design, or B, you were handed to, a designer handed this character artwork to you, or C, you found this character design on a stock website and you need to adapt it to rigging. So that's where we're going to kind of get a little bit more creative with the application of the tools. And then chapter 3 is really how do you break out of that the 2D perspective. So we're going to go over things like how do you do foreshortening, how do you do 2.5D animation, and how do you in this chapter I'm going to kind of go over my process for how do I concept, plan, and build reference for a more dynamic animation that involves foreshortening and some aspects of 2.5D, which is, if you're not familiar, 2.5D is basically you're mimicking the illusion of 3D animation, but it's all just done with 2D vector layers. That's why it's called 2.5D, because it's technically 2D, but you're just trying to make it look 3D. So that's how the character course is going to finish off. So anyway, I could open these up, but these are just kind of the ideas for lessons that I've had. And I'm interested to see, for those of you who haven't pre-ordered the course, if that is something that sounds intriguing to you, or if you feel like it's missing something. And then if you are somebody who has pre-ordered the course, is this kind of what you expected? And does this get you excited to take the course? So those are my questions to you. What do you guys think? Karen, hello from Yerevan. What country is that in? I'm not familiar with that. Looking forward to see your tutorial about character animation. Thank you, thank you. Anyway, so this is, as you can see, it's draft 1. This lesson plan is kind of subject to change depending on the feedback I get. We don't really have a very active chat today, unfortunately. I wish you guys would talk in chat. Okay, Armenia. Awesome. Well, welcome. I'm sure it's the middle of the night there, so I really appreciate you joining in for the live stream. It means a lot. AC says, looking like a good outline. Appreciated, appreciated. So obviously all these titles too are just rough titles. I might get more detailed titles. And of course, if you have pre-ordered, you'll get a link to the course. You'll start to see the lessons, the actual specific lessons for each chapter. My biggest thing right now is, and each chapter has an assignment, kind of a has a few like demonstrations where we'll go over some animation, and then at the end there'll be kind of an assignment for you to go apply the skills that I'm teaching. So the assignment for chapter 1 is to take this basic character that we've created and animate your favorite dance move and make it loop. So that's just an example. I'll show you my approach to walk cycles, and that's both just how to set up a walk cycle and then how to, I'll probably go over how I would animate a character walking and then stopping. That's one thing that somebody mentioned in the survey. And we'll go over things like when to use FK, when to use IK, how to decide which one's going to result in the better animation. Chapter 2, the animation is going to, and again, these assignments are going to be subject to change. So just depending on, I don't want to, the thing about giving an assignment is it needs to apply the lessons that you've taught in the previous section. So I just have to make sure that I'm not creating an assignment with requirements that are more advanced than what we went over. So, and then I haven't come up with an assignment for chapter 3 yet. This one might be more of a kind of an open-ended assignment, kind of like come up with an animation you want to do and then, apply the workflow. Because the thing about doing this more dynamic animation is when you do this more dynamic kind of animation, it doesn't really fall into the same category as the first 2 chapters. So the first 2 chapters are kind of to just teach you everything you need to know about character rigging and animating. So that will cover, like, I would say if you're doing character animations for like explainer videos, these first 2 chapters are going to teach you everything you need to know to cover about 95% of the animations you're going to do for an explainer video. However, this 3rd chapter is going to be a little bit more specialized. These kind of animations that we're going to be doing in the 3rd chapter are more one-off animations. So you're basically building the rig specifically to do the animation you're trying to accomplish in this animation. You're not building a rig that can kind of do everything okay. You're kind of planning out one animation and then you're building your rig specifically for that animation. And the reason why it's important to know how to do that is because a lot of times if you're building the most flexible rig, and it's not always appropriate to build a rig that can do everything, right? Sometimes you just need a rig that can do one thing or a couple of things, and so you don't need to waste time setting up these other things that you're not going to use to animate. For example, if you're going to do a head rig, if you know that in your animation you really only need the head to look right, you don't need to rig it up to look up, down, left, right, to the side, to this, you just need to do that one animation. So being able to plan out your animation and then know the things you do need to set up in order to do your animation is important. But you don't know that unless you know everything else first. You don't know what to leave out unless you have a good understanding of the of character rigging in general, in my opinion. So Lana asks, when will the course launch? So right now, course is planning to begin launching to pre-order people who've pre-ordered it middle of May. It's going to drip out chapter by chapter. That's the plan anyway for now. So for the first week, chapter 1 will come out. That will give people time to go through the tutorials and then to go through the tutorials and then complete the assignment. and then the next week, or maybe the next a week and a half or something, chapter 2 will come out. That will give people time, because I want to give people who have pre-ordered the course, first of all, you're kind of helping me build the course by going through it and letting me know if something's not explained clearly. And that's why I'm offering it to people who've pre-ordered it at a very heavy discount, because I'm hoping to get that feedback from you. So anyway, middle of May is when we're planning on launching it. Hold on to your butts. How long is the course? How long is each chapter? I'm not sure yet, because I haven't obviously recorded the lessons. I would assume, I mean, if I'm just ballparking, 2-3 hours for each chapter. If you know if you've ever watched any of my videos, if you've ever, like, my whole brand on my channel is I like to keep things as, like, brief as possible. So I like to explain things clearly and easy to follow, but you know, I like to get through it. So I try to keep things to the point. Anyway, Lana gives a thumbs up. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyway, if you're interested in checking out the course, we have a landing page for it. It's at keyframeacademy.com//character-pre-order, or there's a link in the description if you want to go check that out. The landing page is very plain right now. There's some GIFs of examples of animations that I've done in the past, and kind of, you know, the well of knowledge that I'm drawing from to create these tutorials and to teach this through the course. Francisco says, where can I pre-order? So yeah, like I said, keyframeacademy.com/character-pre-order, or there's a link in the description. Go check that out. If you've already pre-ordered, you will be getting an email soon about more details. Oh, the other thing I have to mention too about the course is we'll be using Limber as the character rigging tool. So let me just pull up this little comment here. Oh, okay. Let's try this. That's not working. Okay. Oh, I haven't set it up actually. I gotta set it up. But while I'm setting that up, I just want to say the one thing I wanted to say about the course is that we'll be using Limber. We'll be using Limber as the character rigging tool, and we'll be using Duik for some other things. By the way, how does this, okay, there we go. We'll be using Duik for some other things, but we won't be using it for the rigging part of the animation. We'll be using Limber, and you'll get access to Limber as part of purchasing the course. You'll get a free, full-featured professional license, but it's, I should say that again. You'll get a full-featured temporary license to use while you go through the course. So that's pretty cool. So if you've never used Limber before, you know, don't worry about having to purchase that first before taking the course, because it will be included as part of the course for a limited time, so that you can check it out, use it. I'll teach everything I know about that tool. Limber is, if this is the first time joining the live stream, Limber is my tool of choice when it comes to character rigging and animation. It's really the only tool I think you should use for rigging up the limbs of your character. I still use Duik. In fact, today, as we go through the character animation, you'll see that I use Duik plenty. I just don't use it to rig up the arms and legs. I use its other tools, like the connector, which I think is Duic's most useful tool, period. AC asks GH6 or A7S3. I'm going to go with the A7S3 because it's full frame, and I don't think the GH6 is. And the other thing is I've never used a Panasonic before, but I used to own A7S2. In fact, some of my early tutorials were shot on the A7S2. Now I use a Blackmagic cinema camera, Pocket Cinema Camera 4K as my main camera, but I'd have to go with the A7S3. Okay, let me get something set up here real quick. Okay, let me just test something here. Hey, I don't know why it's giving me a... Oh, that's why. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get something set up here. There we go. So now I should be able to click on a chat. I don't know why. Oh, it's because it's turned off. Okay. The rigging is only for a full 1-layer arms and legs, or are they divided 3 layers like arm, forearm, hand with rotating circles in them? Thanks. So this is exactly what I mean. We'll be using limber, which is 1 arm or 1 layer for the full arm. One of the reasons why I love limber, by the way, less layers to deal with in your composition. So yes, we'll be using limber. We will not be using Duic because some of the things that we'll be teaching in the course, like foreshortening, yada, 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 doing 2.5D, these kind of things really can only be done with limber. I myself am not aware of ways to do these in Duic. I'm sure there's ways, but they probably involve a lot more work and, you know, I haven't had time to figure out how to do them in Duic. I almost considered just using Duic because, you know, you can download Duic for free. But, you know, and I didn't want having to purchase limber be a barrier to entry to the course. But we've kind of worked it out so that that won't be a barrier to entry. Cool. Well, let me just pull up the animation I'm working on today. The one that I want to work on. And let's get started. All right, if you were here on the last live stream, we worked on this. I'm just letting it RAM preview. Or we didn't work on this. I just showed you guys that I was working on it. Pretty cool. I am going to create a head, obviously. So I want to work on this animation, but I kind of made a different art style. So I almost have to start over again. And so I thought, well, why not get it started on live stream? I don't know how far we'll get in terms of doing everything, but that's done here. This took me a little bit longer than I plan on being live today, but we'll get started and I'll kind of just show you my process of, you know, creating something like this. So we're gonna start in Illustrator, and I'm just getting this set up, so bear with me. Okay, let's jump over to Illustrator. All right, so this is the little guy that's on the thumbnail of this video, and you know, I want to animate this guy like floating in this artwork style. I'm not sure I'll include all the shadowing and the highlights, but the basic thing. So today, well, the first thing we need to do is I need to kind of build out the components of this. So I'm just going to kind of draw out, because I just drew this in Procreate, so I need to turn it into vectors so I can animate it in After Effects. So let's do this. Oh, what should we? Let's start with the head. Oops. I don't think I need it to be that tall. While I'm working, I'm going to pull up Spotify, just so it's not awkwardly quiet as I work. And we are actually going to, oops, that's the wrong button. There we go, fixed. Hold on to your butts. I can't wait to see how you got the wave warp to loop seamlessly. Yeah, I'm not really sure how I got it to work seamlessly either, to be quite frank with you. I just applied the effect. Oh, there we go. Why don't I see? I don't see my oh well. Thought I could. Oh, there we go. Okay. So for head regs, I like to just do this. I forgot. What this looks like. So I'll have to modify this shape in After Effects, but just getting it down for now. We'll have to do a little trim paths on this in After Effects to get rid of this line up here so it kind of blends into the hair more. So we'll do that. Same with this neck situation. Actually, the neck, we can actually just grab our scissor tool here, cut this little section out. Okay. And then for the body, there we go. Do a little belly button there. Actually, bring this down because I'm going to do the hello from Turkey. Welcome, welcome. Right now we're just working on converting this little drawing I made in Procreate, which you saw in the thumbnail for this video. And we are converting it to vector layers to bring into After Effects to recreate this little animation I did right here. So that's what we're doing. So I'm gonna work on the head in After Effects now. So wait, before I do, go back over to After Effects and we're gonna create a new composition called head. Change that to 12, boom, okay. So, we'll go back into After Effects, and just so you guys can see it, I'm going to turn on the normal. Thing, and then we're going to grab Overlord and start pushing layers over to After Effects. Thanks for joining, Shivam. So early in the morning, 5:20 a.m. You must be a morning person. I, myself, am not. By the way, if you're ever like selecting things and you don't see like the path outlined, you see the bounding box, but you can't see the actual lines that make up the path, it's because this little button right here. This guy right here is not turned on. My Stream Deck is not working. Lots of issues today. Well, we're gonna just have to turn off the Stream Deck for now. Front. Oops. Let's do hair front. Right. All right, I'm gonna show you how I set this up because first thing I need to do is I'm gonna duplicate this and I'm gonna go into the path properties and I'm going to parent that path to this path. This will be the path that we use to control the shape. And this we're gonna name outline. And this we're gonna name fill. And then we're gonna turn off the stroke on this one and turn off the fill on this one. And I'm gonna solo that so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so, oops, don't want to move that. Turn on the transparency, easier for you guys to see. Okay, so the reason why I just did that is so that I can come to my outline here and I can add a trim paths and then I can take this back so that front of this, and then we parented the path. So now if I go and I modify this path, the outline shape will follow it. But now we have a shape that is only half outlined. And then if I unsolo that, so we're gonna do the same thing for this layer right here. So again, I'll go into the layers, duplicate this, call this outline, fill, oops, gotta have that open, turn off that fill, turn off that stroke, and then add a trim paths. Boom. In fact, we probably should bring this down to right here. And it looks like this other one needs to be modified as well. Now, this looks like one shape instead of a bunch of different shapes. Yash, I'm not, no, maybe. I'm not sure. There's probably a way out there. I'm not aware of it though. Something to do with like puppet pins and stuff, but I don't know of a way to automatically add bounce to the hair. So I just realized that we didn't build a face for this guy, so let's go back to Illustrator. Now I could draw all this in After Effects, but I'm just much more comfortable in Illustrator. In terms of my drawing ability. Plus, I feel like I can iterate faster in Illustrator. Because obviously it's made to do this kind of stuff. So looks like a friendly guy, except I remember now that I had him actually have his eyes closed. So let's push this to After Effects. Oops. If you've never used Overlord before, you got to reconsider your choices in life, because it makes working between Illustrator and After Effects so much easier. In fact, it's one of the reasons why I often will do this stuff in After Effects instead of in, that's why I will draw things in Illustrator rather than After Effects, because of Overlord. I don't have to go through the normal headache of importing Illustrator files into After Effects. Normally a very headache-inducing thing. All right, let's do this. All right, we have some labeling and ordering to do. By the way, I got called out on a live stream once for labeling things on my right and my left, not the characters right and left. In my opinion on that, when it comes to 2D character animation, is it just do whatever makes sense to you. So I'll label the right hand as the hand that's on my right, not the actual character's right hand, which would be on the opposite side. I think if you're rigging a 3D character, you've got to make sure that you label things correctly, like you label the right hand, because that 3D character can be viewed from all different angles, and if somebody else needs to animate that character, obviously their right hand, they need to know that the right hand controller controls the right hand. When it comes to 2D character animation, if you're labeling your characters, as long as you understand your own labeling scheme. So I label this as the right ear and left ear, but I think conventionally you would do it the other way around. But This body's a little lopsided, eh? Why does it keep doing that? Neck. This neck is crazy. Also, I forgot to mention while I'm working about the character course on that website, keyframeacademy.com .com/ character pre-order. You can, if you're not ready to pre-order, which I totally understand, you can, there is a link underneath the purchase button that will take you to a page where you can leave me your email, and then you know, I'll let you know when the full course is out to everybody. I'm gonna change the aspect ratio. Honestly, all these layers could be all in one layer for this particular animation. I'm just so used to doing it for, like, if I'm building a whole character rig out, but I gotta text my wife back. This is for a new animation, Patty. Mr. Harker, yeah, that's what we're working on right now, actually. I'm kind of redoing that animation. And no worries about being late to the stream. I get it. It's a Friday evening. Yeah, so this is the animation we're working on, but we're trying to make it look like this, the character look like this. So I kind of am starting over. So right now I'm just in the process of building out the main parts of the character. Next I'm going to do the legs here. I'm trying to decide the best way to do those. I'm going to do the foot next. Mr. Harker, I actually wanted to ask you something. Was it you that asked me in a previous live stream about stylizing the limb with just the outlines and no fill? Let me know if that was you, because I found something out. I found another simpler way to do it that I knew previously to that live stream. I just didn't think of it on that live stream. Man, I keep having to... I find it a little confusing to illustrate in After Effects. Is there any way you can move Procreate files to After Effects? Well, of course you could save them as PSD files and then import those Photoshop files to After Effects. The thing about Procreate, though, is that you're not creating vector images. You're creating bitmap images. So once they're in After Effects, you can't pull and change them like a vector file. So if you want to animate the shape of something that you created in Procreate, you can't really do that. But I agree with you that illustrating in After Effects is hard. That's why I prefer Illustrator, because I can create these vector graphics. But if you're used to drawing with a pencil, drawing with the pen tool in Illustrator or After Effects with Bezier curves and stuff, yeah, that's a new way of drawing, and it's kind of tricky. But you just practice and you get used to it. Drawing isn't so much about the actual physical act as it is just knowing how to see things. But so Mr. Harker, stay tuned. I want to show you what I came up with, but I just want to finish this foot. I'm glad you joined us, because I was doing something the other day, and I was like, oh, I can't believe I forgot to do this, to go over this method of creating those stylized limbs. It's much simpler than what I showed you. It doesn't require the linear key effect. This is an original character, but Patty, you can go check out the last live stream where I went through the process of how I pick out characters. Envato Elements is a place that I use because I have a subscription to Envato Elements, and You get unlimited downloads from Envato Elements, and they have a massive library. I will say that you do have to, it does require some sifting through a lot of mediocre stuff, but you can find really good stuff on Envato Elements. If you're interested in trying out Envato Elements, I have a link. Support the channel, no extra cost to you. I get a little bit of a referral thing. Another website I have a subscription to is FreePick. A lot of times I use those characters in a pinch and as a starting point, and I'll kind of modify them to what I need. Oops. This is the animation we're recreating. Some people in the chat have coined this the Doctor Strange animation. All right, so now we're going to go over here to Limber, create that leg. Oh, that's a bummer, Patty. Hopefully you've had a subscription for a while, and so you don't feel that bad, but if you just got a subscription, that's a bummer. Now, I'm trying to decide, do I use the taper? Limb. I like to separate the parts of my limb so I can see the thigh and the obviously my knees. Well, since I have you guys here, I'm gonna have you guys let me know what you think looks better. Okay, so ignore the fact that the thigh is on top of the underwear because we will fix that later, but I want to see what you guys think. I'm thinking that maybe I use a bone for his legs instead of a tapered shape. Just because I get a little bit more rounding right here, which kind of fits the artwork a little bit more. Obviously, I'd need to make it thicker, but that's easy to do. And then I can obviously taper. So I'm gonna do limb, this new limb under here. We're gonna do this stroke's gonna be a black stroke. And it's going to be, stroke width is gonna be tied to this one, except, oops. Stroke width is going to be tied to this stroke width, except it's going to be plus 2. Let's do plus 6. It's maybe a little too much, huh? There we go. So basically, I just did a little expression, tied it to this, and then it just added a plus 2. So when I change this stroke width, the stroke underneath it will always be the same width as that stroke plus 4. So it just makes an outline over the body. Now, obviously, we want an outline that kind of comes right here, but we'll get to that in a second. First, I'm going to just add a little taper for that. I'm just going to why is this not? It's like the stroke's not doing anything. Big sexy leg. I don't know why. Oh. But I want it to taper from the other side. Ah, there we go. Nice. Taper. Taper. Okay. And then we'll just take the, oops. We'll take this taper settings and we'll go up to edit, copy with property links, and we will select this taper, and since I've copied it with property links, paste it. Now all these are linked, all these taper settings are linked to these taper settings, so hopefully if I change anything, that one underneath changes. So now I need to make that spot, and maybe I need to actually +2. Let's just do +1. So I think if I reduce this, yeah. Okay. So now go over to the ankle and I'm going to turn the dynamics rotate to 100. And then without any layer selected, I'm going to create a new layer for the calf muscle. Match the size of this. Yep, I'm liking that limb much better. Now the tricky part about, oh, sorry guys, I'm like working over here and you can't even see what I'm doing. You guys gotta let me know in the chat when that happens. I'm liking the look of this right limb more than the left one. I wouldn't normally, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this calf, this little, I just drew this. You guys didn't see me draw it because I was focused on the timeline and nobody let me know. But I'm going to parent this to this controller, and because I've set the rotation to this to 100, this is going to rotate with it. It's going to look like it's stuck to the leg. I wouldn't normally rig up this way if I wanted to create a rig that was like flexible and could do a lot of different things, because there's some issues that happen with doing it this way. But because this character's not really going to move out of this position, not a huge deal. The other thing that I like about, oh yeah, so I'm gonna have to adjust this. Dang, this guy's got fat legs, dude. He's got fat legs. Oops, I gotta just parent that to the ankle. So now when I move the ankle, that's gonna come with me. But see how there's issues if I go out like this? So that's why I say I wouldn't normally, like if I'm, it just depends on what I'm rigging for. I know that the most it's gonna happen is maybe like this, you know? Because I've made a version of this animation. And like there is still, even with this motion, there's a little bit of issue. If I come down here, you can see right here, it starts to peek through. That's okay. We can fix that when it comes time to fix that. But I think for now, this is gonna be good enough. Now here's what I love about Limber is I can just, so I have this other limb, taper limb, and like crap, I gotta redo everything I just did. Well, with Limber I can just grab my limb layer, hit copy over here, and we are all whacked up, man. There we go, you guys can see my whole screen. Okay, I'm gonna hit copy on Limber. I'll select my left leg, hit paste, boom. We've got the same limb with the same parameters, but pasted to the other limb. And then I can literally take this guy, duplicate him, parent it to the left ankle, take my convert vertex tool, double click. I hope you guys appreciate my sound effects. turn that guy off. Oh, dang, I almost got that. Okay, left ankle. Oh, you know what? Let's unparent it from the left ankle real quick. Left ankle's rotate and rotation is not turned on, so now left ankle. There we go. It's not exact. And then I just put my foot right here. So this foot. Put that above the left leg, and then we will just adjust these to blend into the foot. And I'm putting them right across the tip of this controller, because I know where the tip of this is the center of the joint here. So I can even take this and put it right there. So hopefully if I rotate, it kind of rotates around the joint, which it pretty much does. It gets off a little bit, but I know for this animation, I'm not gonna ever be bending the foot this far, and if I need to, I can fix it, but for now, I think that's good. And then we just gotta come over here to the left leg and oops, change the color. Boom. All right, now we got to split these legs. So the way I'm going to split this leg is I'm going to add a trim paths. Ooh, that's an issue. Because of the way that it's tapering it. So I'll have to fix that, but I'm going to trim it to the knee basically right here. And then I'm going to duplicate this leg. And I hope this works. Okay, we're gonna have to blend this a little bit, but we'll make it work. So this trim pass actually needs to come a little bit further. Looks like it needs to come right here. No. Okay. Okay. As far as I know, Overlord at this point doesn't support tapered strokes. And the reason why is because I think the way After Effects handles taper versus the way Illustrator handles taper is totally different. So it's not a good way to translate that over. So unfortunately, I think the only way that I know of is just recreating those tapers in After Effects, which I know is a huge pain at this point. Hopefully, you know, you could message Battle Axe and ask them if they have any plans on supporting that. Because if so, that'd be huge, right? That would be huge. So we gotta work on this part of the limb. I think this has gotta come over like that. This has gotta come up like that. And then we gotta fix the taper of this layer. Not that. Wait, what's going on? Okay. Oh, you know what's happening? It's because this taper is still connected to that original layer. Kind of tricky. The reason why I'm trying to separate the upper half and the lower half is for this reason. So I can put the lower half behind the underwear. Like that. We're having issues with the trim passes messing with our tapers, which is messing with everything. Yeah, unfortunately I don't have, I wish I had a better answer, but I don't. Which is a huge bummer. Oh, okay, we're gonna figure this out. We're closer than we were, but we're not there yet. Oh. We need to copy this. I'm gonna do it with relative property links this time and paste that. And I'm gonna turn off the little calf muscle just to... Okay, I'm gonna try this too. Ah, that might actually help. We're almost there. That's pretty close. We just have to adjust this. Then we come over here and adjust this. Yay. I'm just gonna cover up that line with this. A lot of character animation, honestly, is just trial and error. Obviously, there are things that come with just experience, knowing what you can and can't do, but the line's a little thicker on the knee, but I'm not too concerned. So let's check our other leg and see if we need to split it too. I don't know if we will need to, because it's not even really in the right spot, first of all. And then this ankle is going to come down here, actually. I'm going to adjust that. I think it would just, boom, yep. And then obviously this needs to come down, and it needs to be all the same colors. There, we got our guy's legs all worked out. Let's maybe let's animate it. So everything's gonna be, let's see, this foot needs to be Now I'm actually going to animate these with FK, and it's in IK right now. So Limber has a thing over here, which is match FK to, let me just match FK to IK. So I can click that. And what that does is it just makes these parameters that control the rotation of your thigh and your calf, matches it to where your IK controller is, so that when I go over here and I turn FK from 0% all the way up to 100%, my limb doesn't move. If I didn't do the match FK to IK, this is what would happen when I change this FK up, right? My limb all of a sudden it moves. My foot stays there because it's actually connected to a different controller. And so doing the matching FK to IK allows us to avoid a lot of headaches. Now, my foot is connected to it's parented to the ankle controller, but since I'm going to be animating these limbs with FK, I need to actually add an FK controller to the limb, which I just do by hitting this little button. And then it adds another little FK controller here that then I need to parent my foot to. Parent my foot to the FK controller. And the great thing about doing that is if you switch back to IK, if you're parented to the FK controller, and then you switch back to IK, your foot will still follow the IK controller, but not vice versa. If you are parented to the IK controller and you switch to FK, your foot or whatever's parented to that original controller will not follow the FK movements. Hopefully that makes sense. But we're gonna just parent the hips to the underwear, and we're gonna parent the underwear to the torso, which is, am I not seeing it right there? Okay, and then with the torso, oops, I'm going to animate this going up and down. Oops, I need to do the same thing with the right controller. So I'm going to add an FK controller. You see it add there. With the right ankle, I'm going to, if you can see these parameters, right? It's set to 180 and 0. That's the default values that are on the FK controller. And if I go to 100, my leg's going to go out like that. But if I hit the match FK to IK, you can see that those values change. And now I go all the way up to 100 on the FK and my limb doesn't move. It's just a nice way to switch modes. You can actually do this in Duik, but it's just it's a hold keyframe and not a slider like Illustrator or like Limber. And the slider just gives you a little bit more control over the switch. Okay, so I think now, we need to, one thing we need to do is we need to parent these calf layers to the FK controllers instead of the normal controllers. So now, oh, sorry guys. Yeah, there we go. Cool. All right, let's animate the body bouncing up and down. Don't mind that the head isn't bouncing with it. I haven't parented everything up yet. Way too slow. All right, I'm gonna add a loop, and I'm gonna be using Mobar. I'm gonna add in this menu, you guys can't see it, but there's a little key looper. And the reason why I like it is because it gives me drop-down menus to control what I'm doing. I can loop in, loop out, loop in and out. And I can choose what kind of loop I want. Instead of typing it out as an expression, just by selecting it in this drop-down menu, it applies to the looped property. But I gotta make sure yeah. Okay. Cool. So I've got loop in and out at ping pong. That way he just goes up and down. I think I just need a little bit more movement in this. Yeah, that's good. All right, let's Patty says, been making some scripts recently, but didn't see anything in the documentation for getting Illustrator taper settings because AI handles tapers weird. Maybe that's an add-on in it itself. I would actually submit that After Effects handles tapers weird, and I only say that because After Effects didn't support tapers for most of its life. We've only been using tapers for like a year now in After Effects. Natively, obviously there were like things that helped, but oh man, guys, it's been a long week for me. I don't know about you guys, but I've been super busy this week. All right, we need to neck. Oh, Mr. Harker, let me show you that thing with the arm. If you're, hopefully you're still here. But so as a little refresher, because I'm showing Mr. Harker this, but just so everybody knows what we're talking about. So he, in the previous live stream, talked about doing character limbs, but it was just the outline without the fill. So the middle of the fill, where, you know, usually the middle of the arm was transparent, and it was just the outlines. And in the last live stream, I said you could just key out the middle with the linear key effect. So just pick a color and then choose that color with the linear key, and then that will leave just the outline. However, there's another way you can do it, and that is by creating a limb like this, the bone, which is essentially just a stroke along a path. And I'm gonna change the stroke to black, and then you can add an offset effect, and you get this, where it is outlining the stroke. And you can even set this to round join, and then I can reduce the amount, and I can reduce the amount that it's offset. So now you got this like little limb that is an outline and no fill. And I could come over here and I could add some bone curvature to it. So that's another way you can do that. You add the offset outside of the shape group. I think if you add it inside the shape group, maybe it still works the same way. Yeah, it looks like it does. Ooh, that's kind of weird. It's doing something wacky now. Anyway. Looks like I'm just offsetting it too much. Could even do copies. Do some weird stuff with limbs. Anyway, I thought you'd enjoy that. I don't know how many people know you can actually offset a stroke. And I'm sure there's other cool like uses for that technique, but yeah. All right, let's finish. Let's do this. Let's do this. All right, I am tired. I'm wiped out from this week, man. Okay, so we're gonna animate the rotation of the torso. Obviously, I'll have to fix this. Okay. We'll do the same with the left ankle. Let's animate the underwear. How often do you add motion blur to your animations? I think there is an AE script that does cartoon motion blur. I don't really ever use the built-in motion blur for motion graphics or, you know, character animation, because in my opinion that's mostly meant for VFX, not for animation. It was a trend a couple years ago to motion blur everything, but I think that that trend's over. And I've never heard of that script, so if you know the name of it, I'd be intrigued to check it out. So let's see, and this is on the, yeah, okay. So it's gonna go up. I guess it doesn't really. And then there's a separate expression to loop the path of a shape, which escapes me right now. So if anybody knows it, leave it in the chat. But there is a, because you can't use a loop out expression on a path property. I don't know why. But yeah. I need to use the little boy's room, so I will be right back. I'm gonna let this play. Don't go anywhere, I'll be real quick. Oh yeah, there is a called Cartoon Mode Blur that issues an echo type effect. Yeah, the one way I know about like doing smears and stuff is using the echo effect. Just it's called echo. But I've never checked out that. I've never checked that one out. Hang tight, guys. I need to go use the restroom real quick. So just hang tight. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna finish this animation. I'll let it play. You guys can look at it, or you guys can chat in the chat. I'll be right back. I'm gonna mute my mic so you guys don't have to. All right, I'm back. Oh, my dog came to say hi. See if I can get her to say hi. Hey, come here. Come here. Come here. All right, hugs. Ooh, this is gonna be risky. Okay, hugs. Hugs. Oh, you just want a pet? You just want some pets? You're supposed to impress everybody with your tricks. Hugs. Hugs. Come on. Hugs. Oh, she just wants me to pet her. You can see her little snoot there. I want to show everybody you. I want to show everybody your beautiful face. As you good doggies. Let me see. Dude, don't even. Yes, I did. Okay, come here. Come here. Come here. She's a big girl. Oh. Can't see her. Oh, there she is. Good girl. Good girl. She likes to get scratches, but she does not. She's a little camera shy right now. And that she gets scared by a lot of different sounds, but dang, it is dark in here, huh? Hey Siri, turn on the light. Oh, there she is. There she is. Oh, there's a good puppy. Look at her. She's so beautiful. She just likes to sit her little face on my lap and have me scratch her. Because she's been by herself for the last couple hours. All right, sorry. Moving on. I actually should go wash my hands after petting her. Okay, yeah, that's one. I tried it before, but I never really liked it. Echo seems like the same, really. Yeah. I am going to just wipe my hands off because after petting her, sometimes, you know, when you pet a dog and there's like that film on your hands. Yeesh. Okay. Let's actually want to check this out. Let's called Cartoon Mobler. Oh yeah.
Introduce.
I wonder what this does that Echo doesn't do. Oh. Just a second, I gotta look at. Interesting. I don't know. That's kind of cool what it's doing right here. It's got like a gradient. I think you could find some cool things to do with this. Like, can you do that with the echo effect? Like, do this little gradient where it's, you know, it falls off to a different color by the end. And I'm not just talking about like falling off to opacity, but actually being able to choose the two different colors that it uses. Because if that's the case, that's pretty cool. I actually might check, I might get this. I'm not gonna get it right now, but I might actually get this. This is definitely a step above Echo. Just with what I'm seeing. Anyway. Any other scripts anybody wants to check out? Oh, plug in everything. They're the ones who make this. Deep Glow. If you guys don't have Deep Glow, the best glows. That is one I use all the time. These guys make a lot of really good. Oh, autofill. That's another one I own. I've used it on one project. Looks like they got an editing tools. Anyway, all right, moving on. Let's get back to it. Okay. Yeah, Rift. Rift is good. Although I'm seeing more and more scripts include functionality for like staggering layers. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Motion had some of that. I don't think it does. I know the next version of Duik Angela, has a whole thing for staggering layers, and you can actually stagger them in like a exponential curve and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. All right, what are we at? We're at 2 hours and 11 minutes. I think we're gonna wrap up here pretty soon. I do think that, oops. This. Of course, I don't have that. So I would have to, oh my gosh, you guys. I'm just off my game today. All right. So of course I need to find that expression that loops paths. In fact, let me see if I can just Google it. After Effects path looping. Ah, it's from Motion Design School. see if they have it just in the description. Ah, here it is. Value at time, time percentage, key, number of keys, dot time. Make sure I copy that correctly. Now, paste that into After Effects. I'm gonna paste it on the path property here. And we should be able to preview this. Hey, that doesn't work. Oh, I know why. I know why, because it's not a loop out. It's not gonna ping pong. So we actually have to add the keyframe here so it cycles. There we go. Cool. And I'm gonna have to do something about that. You know what I'm gonna do? Just for temporary sake, I'm gonna hit this with the set mat. Right leg. And that's right. Oh man, I just really don't want to split the right leg up, but I might have to. I might have to. Well. All right, well, we've now been going for 2 hours, 17 minutes. I think I'm gonna wrap it up. And we're gonna continue this animation on the next live stream. We'll finish it up. I know a couple of you guys were looking forward to seeing how I did the wave warp, but for the jacket, we'll cover that next time. If you didn't join us at the beginning of the live stream, we're doing, we got a character course coming out I know some of you guys have pre-ordered that character course, and so soon you're gonna find an email in your inbox that's gonna give you a little bit more details about the character course, with a launch date and how you're gonna access it, yada yada yada. At the beginning of the live stream, we went over the outline that I've kind of put together, and it's going to be in 3 chapters. Each chapter is going to have, you know, a number of lessons in it. The idea is to start off really simple and then graduate to more complex, where you're kind of dealing with more potential complexity, and then to finish off with, you know, how to really take those animations to the next level. The first 2 chapters, again, are going to teach you pretty much everything you need to know to do 90% of character animation for things like explainer videos, and it's going to familiarize you with the tools at your disposal. I'm going to show you my process, how I rig up characters. One of the things that popped up again and again in the survey that I had people fill out in order to get a pretty hefty discount on this character course was, one of the things people kept saying is they wanted flexible rigs. And I think too, a lot of people talked about how do you incorporate perspective, and I took that to mean like 2.5D foreshortening. You know, how do you break out of just the flat character animations that usually happen with After Effects animations that we see over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So we're going to cover that. And then chapter 3 is going to be kind of a little bit more like, how do you create a pretty dynamic character animation that goes well beyond that. So anyway, we went over that, and all this information will be available prior to the course launch. The course is going to launch earlier for people who have pre-ordered, because the plan right now is to drip the course out week by week, or chapter by chapter, to give you time to go through the lessons. And then at the end of each chapter, there's going to be kind of like an exercise or an assignment. I hesitate to use the word assignment because I'm not going to grade it, but I will give you feedback, and you kind of share it with everybody else in the course who's pre-ordered the course. And then once all the people who have pre-ordered the course have gone through and I've gotten the feedback and made adjustments to the course, then I'm going to release the course to everybody at its official launch price. But right now, if you want to get access to the pre-order and you want to get access to this course at a discounted rate, you can go over to keyframeacademy.com/character-preorder, and there's where you can pre-order it. We've selected our course platform, and so now we're just getting everything set up on that end, and I'm fine-tuning the curriculum, and we're gonna probably start recording lessons next week. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this course. I'm excited for all the people who have already pre-ordered and who are already enrolled in the course. There's a lot of people. We had a pretty successful conversion rate on the pre-order, so it tells me that this is a subject in a course that people are really interested in. So yeah, go check that out if you're interested. And also, if you're on TikTok, I have an account now on TikTok. Go follow me. I'd greatly appreciate it. I want to start growing on TikTok. If you're not yet following me on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram. And if you're not subscribed on YouTube, but you've joined me for this live stream, consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. big shout out to Hold Your Butts for super chatting earlier in the stream. Really appreciate it. And I also really appreciate those of you who jump on every time we do these live streams and ask questions and contribute to the knowledge base that we have here. I really appreciate it. I've been thinking about coming up with a name for this community, for our community, and I don't know. Everything I come up with is kind of cheesy. I know I probably don't need to come up with a name for this community, but it's kind of the thing that you do on YouTube. So if you guys have any good ideas for a name, let me know. Then I can start my YouTube video out with something cheesy. But I want to do something with a pick whip. I think that'd be fun. Anyways, thanks again, guys. Any last minute questions for me before I jump off here? It is 7:30 p.m. where I am on a Friday evening. That light's dangling, kind of swinging. I think there's a ghost in my office. Cadargo, thank you. I really appreciate it. Keyframers. We're the Keyframers. Yeah. And the thing is, if we're the Keyframers, then it doesn't matter what program you use. You gotta be like, you gotta be part of the community, you know? Oh, I hope you guys have a good weekend. I'm gonna be doing yard work tomorrow. All right, guys. Thanks again. Be on the lookout for a video next week and a live stream. I'm gonna try to live stream next Wednesday or Thursday. By the way, before I jump off, I actually could use some input here. Do you think that I would get more people to tune in if I announced earlier in the week when I'm going to live stream? Or does that really... Mr. Changing the world one keyframe at a time, baby. Yeah. Does that really matter? I mean, I've been just scheduling the streams a couple hours before because I kind of figure that the people who are going to tune in are probably the people who are on their computers at that time. I'm not sure if if I'm live streaming on Wednesday, if I schedule it up on Monday, I kind of feel like most people are going to forget by Wednesday. Which isn't a huge deal. I mean, you forget, you don't tune in, you can watch it later, but I do like having people watching live at least because, we can address questions in real time. So I don't want to catch people off guard, but at the same time, I feel like an hour or two, like if you're going to tune in, letting YouTube push the notification to you an hour or two beforehand gives you enough time to like plan to join, but yeah. I feel like it's got to be like, instead of just keyframers, it's got to be like keyframe crew or keyframe gang. Thought about the pick whip posse. but I don't like the word posse. Pick whip party. Pick whip partiers. Pick whip gang. The pick whippers. I don't know. Keyframe. Keyframe. Could be the Keyframe crew, but crew is spelled K-R-E-W instead of C-R-E-W. Off the cuff streams are good, maybe once in a while. Teenage Mutant Ninja Keyframers. That's a mouthful. Hey, what's up, Teenage Mutant Ninja Keyframers? Welcome to another video. That actually is pretty funny. That could become a little inside joke. I hope I'm not the only one laughing at that, because I think that's actually pretty funny. Yeah, off the cuff streams are good. Maybe once in a month, have a planned stream. Yeah, today was kind of off the cuff. I didn't really have anything planned for today's live stream, which I usually do because I usually have something I specifically want to talk about, but I just wanted to, I finished all my projects this week, and then I just wanted to work on that animation, and so I was like, hey, I'll just jump on live and work on it. I mean, we still have 17 of you here, and I told you I'm ending the stream. You guys just want to hang out or something. One of these days, I'm just gonna jump on at like midnight my time, 1 a.m. secretly, and see how many people join up. Our subscribers are growing. Well, if you just joined the stream, I'm about to end the stream, so apologies, but you can go back and watch the stream later. I noticed that I was watching some live streams and I couldn't click back live. I had to wait for the stream to end and then I could go back and watch it, but like usually I can like, if I'm watching like a live stream, I can usually like, you know, decide to watch it from the beginning, even though they're still live, but last two, I couldn't do that. It's weird. I wonder if there's like a setting on the back end. All right, guys. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining, everybody. Love ya. Stay happy. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you guys real soon.